Hey guys, it's Anime Alternates here, and this is What If Naruto was Trained by Tobirama Part 4, and so I tried to make this video a bit longer than I normally do, but because I had, just to make up for not posting last week, thank you guys for being so supportive. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and so without further ado, roll the intro. Time skip. 2 months. Naruto sighed as his team walked away from Hokage's office. They just completed another D-rank mission, which, as Neji put it, a waste of time, and Naruto had to agree with that statement wholeheartedly. They were a pain, frankly, but Guy-sensei insisted that they were important, and so they did them. D-rank after D-rank, day after day, week after week. A whole 2 months passed in this fashion, before Tenten had said enough was enough. After this, Guy-sensei had given them a compromise. They were currently at 73 D ranks. When they got to 100 D ranks, he would allow them to do a C rank. Then it was 90 more D ranks before another C rank, followed by 80 more, and so on. It would continue in this fashion until they had solely transitioned into C rank missions. By the time they were doing all C rank missions, an entire year would have passed, and the tuning exams would be coming up. Of course, there was a tuning exam coming up in about a month and a half, which would take place in Suna, but Guy-sensei had wanted more time to prepare. It was actually a quite well thought out plan, one that the Genin members of Team 9 begrudgingly agreed to. The Naruto and Neji hit it well, in their opinion at least. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts as Tenten tapped him on the shoulder. Come on Naruto, it's time for team training. Time skip. Later that day. Monument. The Hokage Monument. Tobirama's head to be exact. Naruto sat on Tobirama's head, looking over the village. Guy-sensei had started to encourage each of them to diversify their skill set. Neji was learning a few ninjutsu, or something of the sort, to cover his glaring weakness to long-range fighting. Tenten was learning how to incorporate more weapons into her fighting style, seeing as how she could fight from all ranges. But Naruto, he didn't know what to work on. Sure, he had the Flying Thunder God, but he could barely use it. Of course, he could spend more time trying to get better at it, but to what end for what purpose? Simply to try and imitate Tobirama? If Tobirama heard that, he would call him an idiot and a fool, if that was the reason he chose. But other than that, Naruto didn't have a good reason for trying to get better at the Flying Thunder God. What good was something if you never used it? Perhaps a talk with the old man will straighten things out, Naruto thought, forlornly. Getting up quickly from where he was standing, Naruto backed up about 10 feet before taking a running jump off of Tobirama's head. Naruto's jump spanned 35 feet, and when he landed on the dome of the Hokage's building, he rolled to lessen the impact. Naruto knew for a fact that the minute he jumped, he was being carefully watched by Hiruzen's Anbu guard. They would be doing a shoddy job if they hadn't had sensed him even before he jumped. But Naruto shook that thought off and dropped to the window, opening it and slipping in. Hiruzen smiled as he continued doing paperwork. It appeared that he didn't even need to look up to know who it was. Naruto dragged himself over to one of the chairs near Hiruzen's massive mahogany desk and collapsed into one of them, head resting against the table. It was then that Hiruzen paused what he was doing and placed his pencil down and looked up. What seems to be troubling you, Naruto? Hiruzen asked in his kind, grandfatherly voice. My team has started on specialization, Naruto began before pausing, but before he could speak, Hiruzen spoke up. And you don't know whether or not to continue spending your time getting better at the Flying Thunder God or to create your own style. In doing so, not using the Flying Thunder God at all. Hiruzen finished, eyes twinkling mysteriously. Naruto opened his mouth and then closed it. Hiruzen knew. Of course he did. It had been extremely foolish of Naruto to assume that the man had known every single detail of his training. Why, there wasn't a thing in this village that Hiruzen probably didn't know about, and with the entirety of the Anbu at his command, he could control every citizen of the Leaf like a puppeteer controls a marionette. Naruto shuddered to think what would happen if Hiruzen wasn't as nice as he was. Shaking those thoughts off, Naruto nodded, indicating for Hiruzen to continue. Hiruzen sighed before continuing. Just because you know something, Naruto, doesn't mean you have to use it. Take me, for example. I have earned myself the moniker, the Professor, by learning every jutsu in the Hidden Leaf. Every single one. All stored in here. At this, Hiruzen tapped his head before continuing. That includes the Flying Thunder God. But I didn't learn those jutsu just to use them, you know. I learned them to better understand my comrades and to be able to be a better leader. And that's what matters. You have to be your own person and to create your own style. I know Tobirama taught you more than just the Flying Thunder God. He gave you the building blocks. Now, it's up to you to build your fighting style off of them. Naruto pondered this for a second before nodding and standing up. While it would be a major loss not to use the Flying Thunder God, it would allow him to spend more time creating his own unique fighting style, rather than just copying Tobirama's. As Naruto reached the window, he paused. The old man had said he knew every jutsu the Leaf had to offer, but that begged the question. If he was stuck in a position where he couldn't do anything else, No, I wouldn't ever use them if I was stuck, Hiruzen said, as if reading Naruto's mind. Even if it means I have to die, I will live and die by my own strength. That is my Nindo I created nearly 5.5 decades ago when I became a Genin. And to this day I haven't broken it. Hiruzen gave a nostalgic smile before turning back to his paperwork. Naruto, seeing this as a dismissal, leapt out of the window and rebounded off the Hokage's monument before landing on the ground nearly 2 stories below. Time to get creative, Naruto thought. Back at the Hokage's tower, Hiruzen gave a sigh as he pushed the paper he'd hastily pulled over a certain orange book he'd been reading before Naruto arrived. Now, I'll just finish this chapter and get back to my work. All of Hiruzen's Anbu guards sweat dropped at this fact. Time skip. A couple of days later, Team 9 training session. Each of the member of Team 9 was doing their own thing. Neji appeared to be experimenting with fire, though from the singed look of his clothes, Naruto would say whatever Neji was trying to create still had a long way to go. Tenten was training with weapons. She had just started learning how to use a naginata, though Naruto had full confidence that it wouldn't be long until she could use it proficiently. Tenten took to learning how to use blades like a fish to water. She rarely used anything that didn't have a sharp edge to it. Mad Guy was running around the edge of the clearing while dragging a boulder behind him. Naruto was currently standing near a pond in the training ground. He was holding a ball of water, 14 inches in diameter, in his hands. One hand beneath the ball holding it up, and the other on top of the ball pushing it down. He'd been doing this for almost 10 minutes, at an insanely slow speed, compressing the water. When he had first started, the ball had been 12 feet in diameter. When the ball reached 12 inches, Naruto shifted his hands... When the ball reached 12 inches in diameter, Naruto shifted his hands around the ball so that his wrists were touching. He then started to bring his fingertips closer together, in doing so squeezing the ball out. The ball of water, instead of compressing more, simply shifted to become long and form a point at the end. When he finished, Naruto was holding a spike of compressed water. Near the base Naruto was holding it at was round, but as it neared the end of the spike, it started to flatten out and form edges that were razor sharp. Naruto held it up, examining every part of it. It was about 2 feet long, and the color was cyan blue, with wisps of white running throughout of it, most likely after effects of his chakra compressing the water. But the key to the spike, holding its shape, was Naruto's chakra that was laced throughout it, as he guessed before, was causing the white streams of color to running throughout it. "Hey Tenten," Naruto called. Could you help me with something? Tenten nodded as she jogged over. Sure, Naruto, what do you need help with? Tenten replied. Well, I want to test this out, Naruto said, holding up the water spike. But I need a weapon to do so. It's pretty dense, so use a weapon you don't mind breaking. Tenten smirked. I highly doubt you'll be able to break one of my swords, Naruto. But for your sake, I'll use one of my spare weapons. Tenten unsealed the katana that looked to be in reasonable condition, but Naruto could tell it wasn't the one that she normally used on missions. Naruto walked a little ways away before turning back to Tenten. A quick nod from Naruto was the only signal before the two of them rushed at each other. When they impacted, each side pushed against the other. For a few seconds, before Naruto heard a crack, and Tenten's blade snapped in half. Sorry, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. I didn't mean to break your sword. No, it's fine, Tenten said, waving her hand. I honestly didn't expect you to be able to break my sword, but that means your water spike thingy is almost as dense as steel. Were you trying to make a water sword? Naruto smiled as he looked down at the spike in his hands. Thanks, but that's actually not what I meant. I actually had something else in mind for this. I'm actually trying to create sort of a defensive jutsu that has some consequences of attacking it physically. Well, good luck, Tenten said as turning away and going back to training. Though she had a scowl on her face that Naruto didn't see. Whatever Naruto is creating is going to be powerful, and Neji is no different with his fire. They're pulling ahead, and I need to find a way to accelerate too. Suddenly, a thought came to her mind, and she jogged off to find their sensei. Time skip. 4 months. Naruto backflipped away from Neji. What they were doing right now was a spar. It had started out like any other normal spar they had had for a while, and continued like one until Neji went and set himself on fire. Neji was difficult enough to deal with on the best of days, but fighting him while he was on fire was nearly impossible. The technique, as Naruto now knew, was called Flame Body. First off, Neji had forced Fire-style chakra throughout his entire body, severely boosting his metabolic rate, which in turn boosted his energy, speed, and strength. Then, the fact that his body was heated up so much, the sweat in his pores had been evaporating, which in turn raised the temperature around him about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. All of that combined made it nearly impossible to get close to Neji without A, getting burned, or B, getting hit by Neji, who was now utilizing his new boost in speed. But Naruto hadn't been idle. While Neji was creating the technique, he'd also been doing a little inventing of himself. Doing another backflip to gain more space, Naruto blurred through a series of hand seals, before clapping his hands together. Naruto's mouth cheeks puffed up before water came gushing out of his mouth. The water wrapped around him, forming a ball, before 8 spikes formed around the ball. On the surface of the ball, I should say. The spikes didn't stay in one place though. They were constantly moving around the surface of the ball slowly. Sheltering Dragon, Sea Urchin Bunker, Naruto said, smirking. The style Naruto had created was called the 3 Water Dragons, and it revolved around 3 things, a dragon for each one of them. The dragon of defense, known as the Sheltering Dragon, the dragon for attacking, known as the Crusading Dragon, and the dragon of avoiding, known as the Dancing Dragon. Though, regrettably, Naruto had only been able to create one jutsu, and it had fallen under the Defending Dragon section, or the Sheltering Dragon. It had been his answer to Neji's taijutsu style, before Neji had started using fire. Like it, Naruto said. You're naturally better at taijutsu than me, Neji. So I created this as my answer to your taijutsu. Not only can it absorb all of your palm strikes, these spikes are as dense as steel. If you even miss once, it will be akin to running headlong onto a katana. Neji nodded appraisingly. Very good, Naruto. But then again, you said it can absorb palm strikes. I guess it's a good thing I'm not using palm strikes. You're basically a sitting duck inside of a pot of water. Allow me to heat it up for you. Naruto's eyes widened as Neji disappeared and reappeared before slamming a blazing palm onto one of the places where the spikes weren't, and shouting 8 trigrams, Hibachi strike. The palm of fire was absorbed by the water, but the water surrounding Naruto notably increased in temperature. Kuso, Naruto thought, as Neji kept disappearing and reappearing. Though he didn't want to admit it, the sheltering dragon, Sea Urchin Bunker, was still in the development stage. It required a massive amount of chakra to sustain, so he couldn't hold it for too long. Though the orb hovered a few inches off the ground, it sacrificed mobility for high defensive capabilities, and it was completely immobile. Neji was right. He was a sitting duck, but there wasn't much he could do about it. Keyword being much. Naruto knew that not being able to move was a huge disadvantage, and so he planned accordingly. Though Neji was fast, he'd forgotten about one crucial detail. Fire, style ninjutsu, was naturally weak to water, and he'd pumped his body full of fire-style chakra. One good hit would all it take to take Neji out. Add to the fact that Naruto already had some experience tracking fast opponents like Guy Sensei, and the fact that Naruto could move his bites anywhere, Naruto had a solution to Neji's problem. Naruto had a solution to the problem Neji was presenting. Quickly dulling one spike, as he didn't want to impale Neji, Naruto anticipated Neji's next strike point and moved his spike to that position. A key feature of the spikes that Naruto conveniently forgot to mention to Neji was the fact that Naruto could fire his spikes off of the ball. Though because he lost connection to the spike, it reverted back to its original shape, a ton of water. But that would work just fine. Better, in fact, because Neji would be completely soaked. The shock to the system from water-style chakra dousing his fire would be enough to do the rest. Just like planned, Neji appeared right in front of the spike. His eyes widened in shock as the spike appeared where he was going to attack next, but he couldn't move out of the way fast enough. You're basically a living flame, Naruto thought, grinning like a shark. Let me put it out for you, mirroring slightly what Neji said earlier to him. The spike fired off the ball and directly into Neji's stomach before exploding, sending waves of water outwards. Neji's eyes were blank as he was blasted backward, likely from going into shock. Naruto smirked before the jutsu abruptly cancelled and he fell to the ground, from chakra exhaustion and the fact that he'd been practically being boiled inside a ball of water got to him. Time skip, 4 months. Naruto, Neji, and Might Guy stood a ways away as Tenten was about to show them something. Apparently, it was too dangerous to be used on one of her teammates currently, so she would be using it against a tree. Might Guy knew what it was, but wouldn't tell. Standing about 20 feet away from the tree, Tenten held 2 katanas crossed. Suddenly, the color of the blades darkened from silver to a dark gray, almost black. Tenten swung the blades, shouting, 2 swords, King's Jester. 2 blades of chakra flew through the air and slammed into the tree, cutting all the way through, before fizzling out. Earth-style chakra, Naruto thought. Crap. Water is naturally weak to earth. It should use that on me, I might have gotten seriously injured, seeing as how that would have sliced right through my water ball, or my sea urchin defense. Simultaneously, Neji was thinking, fire isn't great against earth, but luckily, Tenten doesn't seem to have any defensive techniques. They both clapped politely when Tenten turned back to them, but they were still thinking of ways to get around Tenten's new boost in skill. Good job, all of you, Might Guy said, standing. You're all coming along nicely. Remember, the tuning exams are coming up, so continue to work hard, and remember to work together. All 3 members of Team 9 responded with a sharp nod. As aloof as Neji may seem, or a recluse as Naruto was, all the members of Team 9 were family. Sure, they did try and outperform one another, but they were family nonetheless. We'll crush these exams, Naruto said, pounding his fist into the other palm. Time skip, 4 months. Naruto and the rest of the Genni members of Team 9 strolled up the stairs to room 301. They had already bypassed the low-level genjutsu meant for preventing the, as Neji likes to call them, fodder from taking the test. "You there," a voice called, prompting the genin of Team 9 to turn around. Behind them, at the base of the stairs, was another team. One that Naruto quickly identified. "Team 7, Naruto drawled out. "Of the Rookie 9? The boy that had called out to them stepped forward. "You're correct. My name is Rock Lee, and these are my teammates, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha," he said, gesturing to his teammates. "The Rookie 9 are widely regarded as 9 of the strongest genin the Leaf has to offer, and of them I am the second strongest. Your team seems strong, and I would like to have a quick spar with one of you." His amusement seemed to dance in Naruto's eyes as he took a step back down the stairs. Neji quickly placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, shooting him a warning glance, causing Naruto to sigh as he stepped back up the stairs. "Another time, perhaps," Naruto sighed, as he rejoined his team and continued walking up the stairs. "What are you, weak?" the Uchiha said arrogantly. "No, but you are," Naruto said nonchalantly, "and I'd rather not waste my time." Ignoring the pink-haired girl's screams, the Genin members of Team 9 continued up the stairs. "I don't know about the rest of the exams, but these are sure going to be interesting," Naruto thought. Anyway guys, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.